Right now, we want to welcome Chris Lewis back to the show. Chris Lewis, Dallas defense lawyer and also former sports agent. This is a big day for Johnny Manziel. Chris, thanks for being with us. When this goes to the grand jury, what is the grand jury? Are they going to try to decide if Johnny Manziel is a criminal or is he mentally off? What happens today?
You know, what happens today is the assault case that we heard so much about, we thought was in Fort Worth, but come to find out it was a case based in Dallas. Grand jury is going to determine whether or not there's probable cause that crime happened, whether it happened or it didn't happen. Now, it's unusual for a misdemeanor case like this one to go before a grand jury. Usually the grand jury process is for the grand jury to ferret out whether or not felony cases should proceed. So that's what the grand jury is deciding today, and you know they've got some interesting questions before them.
Chris, you mentioned that this is unique for a misdemeanor here, but how much of this is amplified by the other actions that we have seen and read about in the media of Johnny Manziel?
Well, so the grand jury process, they should be limited in what they hear to whether or not Johnny Manziel assaulted his girlfriend on that night at Hotel Zaza. Unfortunately, I think that other things play into it, and all the negative publicity that he's received lately. We've seen articles about Nike dropping him. We've seen articles about Drew Rosenhaus becoming his agent, giving him an ultimatum, and then dropping him as a client. I think all those things factor in. They shouldn't in the determination whether or not this crime occurred, but there's no doubt that this grand jury is going to be aware of some of those issues.
Chris, explain the process to me today. They present this evidence, and then what happens? Does it take will we know something today, or does it take a couple of days before they make a decision?
No, that's a great question. So here, within about the next hour, the grand jury is going to be meeting. So this will be the this will be the Tuesday, Thursday grand jury. There's two grand juries running in Dallas at any given time. They will probably hear 70, 80, 90 cases today, and this is just going to be one of them. They will make a decision today. They always, after they hear all the cases, they make a decision. The decision is either we're going to true bill this case, we're going to indict it, or we're going to no bill this case. Now, whether or not, typically on a Thursday, when the grand jury makes a decision, we don't usually find out until Friday or Monday. But because of the nature of this case, it would not surprise me if we knew something later this afternoon. But if it were a typical case, you'd be looking at Friday or Monday.
Chris, if you're his agent, what do you advise Mr. Manziel to do right now?
I would not be his agent right now based on everything that's going on. I would have done the same thing Drew Rosenhaus did. I would say, listen, Johnny, you're not marketable right now, certainly for not products. You're not even marketable from the standpoint that an NFL franchise is willing to take a flyer on you. And the reason why is because of all these hits to your image. And who cares whether or not you've actually committed crimes? You're held to a higher standard. It's not a criminal standard. It's, are we comfortable making you the face of a franchise or even part of our team? I would have done the same thing that Drew Rosenhaus did. Said, these are things that need to occur in order for me to help to repair your image, for you to get back on the field, for you to be marketable. And if you're not willing to do it, then I'm not here to babysit you. Obviously, he wasn't willing to do it. And Drew Rosenhaus, who, by the way, Drew Rosenhaus still represents Greg Hardy with all of Greg Hardy's issues. So this is a worse situation in Drew Rosenhaus's eyes than the firestorm that the Greg Hardy situation has been.
All right. Hey, Chris, I'm going to ask you this on the air. If there's a result out of today's grand jury investigation, can we bother you for tomorrow morning again?
Absolutely.
Awesome. We'll talk to you again tomorrow then for a follow-up in case they have gotten a decision on Johnny Manziel. Chris Lewis, Dallas defense attorney.